welcome to episode 4 of the Kingdom Current. I'll try to keep it shorter today. And by the way, I'm Mike, and if you think that you're brave enough, I welcome you to jump into my head for a few minutes, and let's get into the flow of the Kingdom Current together. All right. Episode 4 is going to start with a topic called the days of Noah. And this is probably going to be cut into a couple of different episodes because it'll get long. I want to try to keep each episode short, though, you know. So let's start here. This is going to begin with the disciples of Jesus. We're asking them a bunch of questions. And Jesus answers the question from his disciples on when he will return and when the end of the age will occur. It's a good question, huh? Especially in the that we're looking at now and the current events that we see. Let's see if we can agree with them. Jesus answers, but concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. So it's going to be like those days. There was judgment coming, and the people just weren't paying attention. There's other key things about the days of Noah. That world was filled with violence and evilness and wickedness. They were warned about judgment, but they chose not to hear it or believe it or just mock it until when Noah closed the door, it all broke loose. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's also look at Genesis 6, 11 and 12. Now the earth, this is talking about the days of Noah, by the way. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. It's pretty interesting that he says all flesh had corrupted their way on earth. Not just man. The broader context in Genesis 6 paints an even darker picture than what's on the surface. Genesis 6:5 says this: "The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." In Genesis 6:12 and 13, "And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth." All flesh. "And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them." Who is them? "Behold, I will destroy them with the earth." All flesh. Let's keep that in mind because we're going to touch on that probably in another episode, but just to keep this one short. I'll tell you what, I'll just let the secret out. We're going to dig in a few places in the book of Enoch where I believe there's a great description of what was going on pre-flood and during the flood and all that. It'll make sense, trust me. Anyway, let's get back to what Jesus was talking to his disciples about. See, because I want to let everybody know what's going on with that in the book of Enoch, because I believe the disciples knew very well what was going on, because Peter and Jude both give quotes and stories that are from the book of Enoch. That's in our New Testament. So hang on. What Jesus is actually pointing to, Jesus isn't saying that the world at his return will be worse than the day of Noah. as is, like in more murders per capita, worse wars, stuff like that. He's saying that the character and condition of society will be parallel in key respects. Number one, deep, systemic, moral corruption and violence. Genesis 6:11 emphasizes what I just mentioned. Number two, everyday normalcy. People carrying on with ordinary life, like going out to dinner, going to some weddings, work on your career, go see a good show this weekend, right up until sudden judgment hits. Number three, complete unawareness or willful ignorance of the approaching catastrophe. Even though the signs were there for anybody who was willing to see them, the as it was in the days of Noah comparison is therefore about the texture of life, the vibe, wickedness underneath, business as usual on top. Does today's world compare, or does it have to get worse than the days of Noah? What do you think? What do you think he was meaning? See, Scripture itself doesn't say that conditions must become worse than they are right now. It simply says that they will be like Noah's day. So the question isn't, is it bad enough yet? Are we in the days of Noah? But more like, do the patterns match the days of Noah? That's a scary thought, isn't it? Because you know what? You know it is. It's full of violence today, right? Look, the strong parallels today. Violence fills the earth. Wars, terrorism, mass shootings, human trafficking, abortion on an industrial scale. The list could go on. Moral corruption isn't hidden. It's celebrated in media, law, and culture. The thoughts of the heart only evil continually, like the description of the days of Noah. It's hard to measure that, but many believers point to the normalization of practices that the Bible explicitly calls sin. Think about that. What are some of the breakdowns that we see today? I'm not going to go into all of them because I don't want to start fights. It's not what I'm here for. But let's just check out some easy on the surface ones, okay? Easy to swallow. What about the breakdown of the family? The rejection of objective truth and the rapid global spread of these trends via technology. Your Facebook and all that, your TikTok. People are eating, drinking, marrying, building careers, scrolling, and planning vacations. Exactly as Jesus described. We're all doing it while ignoring or mocking the idea that judgment is near. In that sense, yes, humanity today looks strikingly like the pre-flood world. I'm really under the weather, so be patient with me, all right? Hopefully I won't cuss or nothing. Let's look at some unique aspects of Noah's day that may or may not be replicated yet. The pre-flood world included the mysterious B'nai Elohim, or the sons of God. Genesis 6, 1 through 4. It even mentions Nephilim. They had extremely long human lifespans and apparently universal corruption. Only 8 people were saved out of the entire planet. Some interpreters see modern parallels in genetic engineering, AI, transhumanism, occult resurgence, or global elite corruption. Others say those elements were unique and that today's world, while bad, still has 4 more pockets of genuine faith and restraint than Noah's did. Both views exist among serious Bible students. But does it have to get worse? Let's check out that perspective. There's other passages like 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, and 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 3, and Revelation. They describe a final period of intensified lawlessness and apostasy and tribulation. Many who hold a futurist premillennial view believe the worst is still yet ahead, especially during the events surrounding the return itself. They would say today's world is heading towards a Noah-like condition, but it hasn't fully arrived yet. Well, there's another view, the we're already there perspective. Others note that Jesus gave the Noah parallel as a general description of the character of the last generation, not a checklist that must hit and get, like a worse threshold or something like that in the future. Since Noah's world was judged when it reached the point of no return, and Jesus says that's how it's going to be when he comes back, many conclude the parallel is already visible enough that believers should live watchful, with readiness rather than waiting for some hypothetical escalation. What about you? The bottom line is this. The Bible does not frame the end times comparison as a competition. Like, is it worse in 2026 than it was in 6000 BC? I don't know about that. It frames it as a pattern recognition question. The pattern that Jesus highlights is rampant corruption and violence paired with oblivious normalcy. Rampant corruption and violence paired with oblivious normalcy. That's unmistakably present in our world right now. Whether it is the final iteration or whether things will still intensify further before the Son of Man returns is something that Christians debate across different views, like, pre-trib rapture, post-trib, amillennial, etc. But don't forget, as we started this, Jesus said, even the angels or the Son of Man don't know the day, only the Father. So there's no way we're going to be able to judge the exact day, but we can just kind of gauge the temperature of the times. Jesus' actual point in Matthew 24 is not to fuel speculation about how bad is bad enough, but to call his followers to readiness. He says in Matthew 24:42, "Therefore stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming." The days of Noah were marked by people who refused to believe judgment was coming until it was too late. The question for us isn't whether humanity today is 100% as bad as it was back then, but whether we are living with the same dangerous complacency as they did. That part of the comparison feels way too uncomfortably close right now. Right on. So I'm going to cut it right there, and that should be long enough, around 15-minute clip. We're going to have part 2 where next time, I don't know, maybe give me about 2 or 3 days and I'll upload it. And we're going to get into the book of Enoch a little bit and discuss more of the days of Noah, but from a historical standpoint. And you guys don't forget to pray for me. I'm a little squirrely tonight because I have some health issues going on. Remember me in your prayers. I love you all. I'll see you on the next episode.